Welcome back to the archives. Tonight, we turn our attention to the linchpin of the Imperium, the rock upon which the tide of traitors broke for 10,000 years. You can smell the ozone here, sharp and metallic, mixing with the recycled air of the high-altitude bunkers. It is the scent of a world that has known only war since the days the Emperor walked among us. You hear the distant, rhythmic thrumming of the pylons, a sound that vibrates in your teeth rather than your ears, holding back the madness of the warp. This is a place where childhood is a myth, where learning to strip Alaskan is as fundamental as learning to walk. It is a place where hope is the first casualty, replaced by the cold, hard certainty of duty before we unseal these forbidden records. Please take a moment to subscribe and like the transmission. It helps the machine spirit of the algorithm find more loyal citizens. And tell me, in the Vox logs below, what is your current sector and planetary time? It brings comfort to know that even across the vast, uncaring gulf of space, we are not truly alone. Now, dim your lumens. Let the hum of your cogitators soothe you, and let us descend into the lore together. You stand now on the Ferrocrete ramparts of Cadia Prime, the fortress world that guards the single stable route out of the Eye of Terror. The wind here is bitingly cold, whipping across the gray, industrial landscape of the Cadian moors. It carries the dust of 10,000 years of bombardment, a fine grit that coats your armor and stings your exposed skin. To look up into the sky of Cadia is to look into the mouth of hell itself. The heavens are not black nor blue, but a bruised, sickly violet, dominated by the swirling, malevolent nebula of the Ocularis Terribilis. It hangs there, a constant, unblinking eye watching you, hating you. For the citizens of this world, that purple glare is the only sun they have ever truly known. You see them manning the walls around you, the Cadian shock troopers. They are the standard by which all other regiments of the Imperial Guard are measured. You notice their eyes. They are violet, a mutation caused by generations of living in the shadow of the warp. In any other sector, this deviation would see them purged as mutants. Here, it is a badge of honor, a mark that they have stared into the abyss and refused to blink. The date is late in the year 999, M41. The age of the Imperium is drawing to a close, though few realize the finality of the hour. The air is thick with a tension that is almost physical, a static charge that makes the hair on your arms stand up. The astropaths in the high spires are screaming in their sleep, their dreams invaded by visions of fire and wolves. The tarot cards of the sanctioned psychers turn up only death, the tower, and the martyr. You walk along the perimeter of Kaiserkraft, the capital fortress city. The architecture is brutalist and imposing, designed not for aesthetics, but for survival. Every building is a bunker. Every street is a kill zone. You pass the massive macro cannon batteries, their barrels the size of hab blocks, pointed eternally upward at the bleeding sky. Servitors, lobotomized and fused with heavy lifting gear, shuffle past you, hauling crates of lost power packs and bolter shells. There is no panic here, only an accelerated industry. The Cadians know what is coming. They have trained for this since the moment they drew their first breath, dominating the landscape. Rising high above the fortress walls are the Cadian Pylons. You stop to examine one of these ancient enigmas. It is a monolith of smooth, black stone, towering kilometers into the atmosphere. It has no seams, no rivets, no visible power source. Let us examine the technical nature of these structures. They are composed of noctilith, or blackstone, a substance that does not reflect radar and feels strangely greasy to the touch. These are not Imperial creations. They predate the Imperium, predate humanity, perhaps even predate the Eldar. They operate on a frequency of anti-reality, projecting a null field that stabilizes the fabric of real space. Without them, the warp storm of the Eye of Terror would have swallowed Cadia millennia ago. When the wind hits them, They produce a low-frequency resonance, an infrasonic hum that calms the chaotic energies of the immaterium. It is the sound of order imposing itself upon chaos. But tonight, the hum is erratic. You place your hand against the cold surface of the pylon. You can feel a tremor running through the stone. It is straining. The pressure from the other side of the Cadian Gate is building. The warp is pushing back. Scholarly ambiguity surrounds the true purpose of the previous 12 Black Crusades, led by Abaddon the Despoiler. Imperial propaganda paints them as failures. 12 times the Archtrader lashed out, and 12 times he was repelled by the steel of Cadia. But there are those within the Ordo, Malleus, who whisper a darker truth. They suggest that Abaddon never intended to conquer Terra in those previous wars. They theorize that he was targeting the pylon networks on other worlds, slowly weakening the cage that holds the warp in check. If this is true, then the failures were a mask for a long, methodical victory. And now, the endgame has arrived. You look out beyond the walls, into the wastes. The Cadian regiments are digging in. You see thousands of lemon rust battle tanks revving their engines, their exhaust plumes adding to the smog that chokes the horizon. You see the white shields, the conscripted youth, marching in perfect unison, their faces distinct mixtures of terror and determination. They are children, barely 16 Terran years of age, yet they handle their lasguns with the ease of veterans. They know the Cadian maxim, if you can breathe, you can fight. The vox beat in your ear crackles with chatter. It is not the panicked screaming of a surprise attack, but the disciplined reporting of coordinates. The Auspex arrays in orbit have detected anomalies. Not one ship, or 10, or 100. The sensors are washing out. The readout simply says, Legion strength. The Despoiler is coming. You can feel the presence of the enemy before you see them. It is a nausea that settles in the gut, a spiritual sickness that whispers of betrayal and ancient grudges. The sky above begins to curdle. The purple clouds swirl faster, forming a vortex directly over the planet. Lightning, red and jagged, arcs between the pylons, grounding itself in the ferrocrete of the Khazar. The eternal vigil is ending. The period of waiting is over. You watch as the Lord Castellan, Ursarkar Creed, steps out onto the command balcony of the Leviathan command crawler. He is a bear of a man, his coat draped over his shoulders, a cigar clamped firmly between his teeth. He looks up at the sky, not with fear, but with a deep, simmering anger. He knows the odds. He knows that the logic of war dictates a retreat. But Cadia does not retreat. The first drop pods are not yet falling, but the shadow of the invasion fleet has already darkened the stars. The battle fleet Cadia is moving to intercept, but they are a candle against a hurricane. You tighten the straps of your armor. You check the charge on your power pack. You take your place on the wall, shoulder to shoulder with men and women who were born to die in this exact spot. At this exact moment, the wind howls, carrying the first screams of the Void War burning in the upper atmosphere. The 13th Black Crusade has begun, and you are standing at ground zero. We shift our gaze now from the shivering surface of Cadia to the crushing blackness of the void above. You are floating in the cold silence of high orbit, looking down at the fortress world, a gray marble wrapped in the fragile lace of atmospheric shielding. But your attention is drawn away from the planet, towards the tier in space that dominates the system. The Eye of Terror is opening. It begins not with ships, but with a scream. It is a psychic shockwave that ripples through the immaterium and bleeds into real space. Aboard the ships of Battlefleet Cadia, astropaths convulse and die, their brains boiling in their skulls. Navigators' eyes turn black and burst. The first casualty of the invasion is the ability to communicate. The system goes dark, isolated from the rest of the Imperium by a shroud of warp static. Then, they emerge. You watch as the fabric of reality tears open like rotten cloth. From the bleeding wound of the warp, the armada of the Despoiler spills out. To call it a fleet is a failure of language. It is a migration of monsters, leading. The vanguard are the grand cruisers of the traitor legions. These are ancient vessels, their hulls twisted by 10,000 years of exposure to the raw stuff of chaos. They do not gleam with the proud adamantium of the Imperial Navy. They are scabbed over with rust, gore, and writhing demon flesh. You see the Terminus Est, the flagship of Typhus, a rotting cathedral of disease that leaves a trail of virulence in its wake. You see the jagged knife-like silhouettes of the Night Lord strike cruisers, their hulls adorned with flayed skins that freeze in the vacuum. But dwarfing them all is the will of eternity. This is not a ship. It is a blackstone fortress that let us examine the scale of this horror. It is an alien construct, a star fortress shaped like a massive, jagged, 8-pointed star. It is the size of a small moon. Its surface is the same oily, light-absorbing noctilith as the pylons on the surface, but twisted to a darker purpose. It pulses with a red, baleful light. The main weapon of a blackstone fortress, the warp cannon, is capable of stripping the atmosphere from a world or shattering a planet's crust. It is a weapon of exterminatus wielded by a madman. The Imperial defenders, Battlefleet Cadia, move to engage. You see the brave, blocky shapes of the Lunar-class cruisers and the Gothic-class battleships firing their thrusters, moving into attack formation. They are hopelessly outnumbered. The ratio is 50-1. The engagement that follows is not a battle. It is a massacre. You watch as the Chaos Fleet unleashes its fury. Macro cannon batteries, corrupted by demon forges, fire shells that scream as they travel through the void. Lance beams of coherent light slash through the darkness, cutting Imperial frigates in half. The void shields of the Loyalist ships flare brilliant blue and then fail, overwhelmed by the sheer volume of fire. The will of eternity fires its primary weapon. A beam of red energy, thick as a continent, lances out from the center of the fortress. It strikes the Numenor, a Emperor-class battleship of the Imperial Navy. There is no explosion. The Numenor simply unmakes the metal, the crew, the history of the ship. It is all erased, converted instantly into warp stuff and scattered into the ether. On the bridge of the flagship, Admiral Quarren watches his fleet burn. He knows he cannot win. His duty now is not victory, but time. All ships break formation, he orders, his voice steady despite the chaos. Ramming speed. Target the escorts. Make them bleed for every kilometer. You witness acts of heroism that will go unrecorded. You see a squadron of Cobra destroyers, engines flaring to overload, dive directly into the launch bays of a massive chaos carrier. They detonate their WARP drives, creating a localized singularity that tears the carrier apart from the inside. You see the Pax Imperialis turn its broadsides to the enemy, taking hit after hit, its hull glowing white-hot, just to shield a retreating transport ship carrying civilians. But the tide is relentless. The traitor fleet pushes forward, crushing the orbital defenses. The sky fortresses, massive orbital platforms armed with defense. Lasers are boarded by drop pods that look like severed claws. Inside these boarding torpedoes are the traitor Astartes, the World Eaters, the Death Guard, the Black Legion. They spill into the corridors of the orbital stations. You can hear the bolter fire over the Vox channels, the wet tearing sounds of chain axes meeting flesh. The orbital defense grid is being dismantled from the inside out. Below, on the surface of Cadia, the sky changes. The stars are gone. The sky is now a ceiling of burning metal. The debris from the destroyed fleet begins to rain down. It is a meteor shower of starship hulls, reactor cores, and frozen bodies. The will of eternity moves into low orbit. Its shadow covers the entire continent of Kaiser Kraf. It hangs there, a menacing god of geometry, blotting out the warp light of the eye. Abaddon is not content to simply bombard the planet from space. He wants to break it. He wants to feel its spine snap. From the hangars of the Chaos ships, The landing craft launch. They descend like a plague of locusts. Dreadclaws, Charybdis assault claws, and massive bulklanders carrying the Titan legions of the Dark Mechanicum. The atmosphere of Cadia burns as millions of tons of traitor steel enter the upper ionosphere. You watch from the ground as the invasion begins. The clouds part, not from wind, but from the heat of re-entry. The first drop pods slam into the Elysion Fields, the vast plains outside the capital city. Thump, thump. The sound is like the heartbeat of a dying giant. The earth shakes. The pods open, and out step the Legiones, Assaertes. They are clad in power armor, the color of dried blood and midnight. Their war cries are amplified by vox grills shaped like screaming mouths. Asterisk, blood for the blood god. Asterisk, death to the false emperor. Asterisk, the Cadian artillery opens fire. The Earthshaker cannons of the Basilisk batteries roar, sending high explosive shells arcing into the landing zones. The ground erupts in geysers of mud and fire. But for every traitor marine that falls, 10 more take his place. The orbital war is lost. The void belongs to the Despoiler. Now the war for the soil begins. The greatest invasion force in the history of the Long War has made planetfall, and there is nowhere left to run. The cage is open. The wolves are not just at the door. They are in the house. You are now knee-deep in the freezing mud of the Elysion Fields. The orbital war is a distant memory, a light show playing out behind the heavy banks of toxic smog. Here, on the ground, the war is intimate. It is wet, cold, and smells of wet promethium and unwashed bodies. You stand within the trench lines of the Cadian Eighth, the Lord Castellan's own. These are not the pristine fortifications of the propaganda vids. These are hasty earthworks, dug by desperate hands as the sky fell. The rain has turned the soil into a thick, clinging slurry that sucks at your boots with every step. The silence here is heavier than the void. It is the silence of a million men holding their breath. Across the no-man's land, perhaps 2 kilometers away, the landing zones of the traitors are wreathed in smoke. The drop pods stand like monolithic tombstones, their sides scorched black from re-entry. You can hear them before you see them. It is a sound that taps into a primal fear buried deep in the human genome, the rhythmic, wet thud of armored giants running. Then, the fog breaks. They come not as an army, but as a landslide. The vanguard of the Black Legion, interspersed with the blood-red armor of the World Eaters, charges across the open ground. They do not use cover. They do not advance in squads. They run with a speed that defies their mass, closing the distance with terrifying rapidity. Fix bayonets. The order comes down the line. It is not shouted. It is passed via vox bead, a calm whisper in the ear of every soldier. You watch as 10,000 Cadians simultaneously attach the monomolecular blades to the lugs of their lasguns. It is a single metallic clack that echoes across the fields. First rank, fire. Second rank, fire. The order is given. The trench line erupts. Let us examine the mechanics of the Lascan volley. Individually, the M36 Cantrell pattern las rifle is often mocked as a flashlight by the ignorant. But physics dictates a different reality. The weapon fires a coherent beam of high-energy photons. When 20,000 of these beams strike a target simultaneously, the air temperature in the kill zone spikes to over 3,000 degrees. The oxygen burns away instantly. You see the front rank of the traitor Astartes hit by this wall of light. It is like watching a wave break against a cliff. The sheer thermal output boils the paint off their ceramite armor. The weaker joints, the neck seals, the armpits flash into steam. You see a Khorne berserker stumble as 100 last bolts vaporize his helmet, turning the head inside into superheated mist. For a moment, just a moment, it seems like the guard might hold. The discipline of Cadia is absolute. They fire, cycle their power packs, and fire again. a rhythmic machine of death. But the Astartes were built to endure hell. The survivors of the volley reach the trenches. This is where the slaughter begins. You witness the difference between a soldier and a weapon. A Cadian shock trooper is a peak human combatant trained for decades. A Chaos Space Marine is a biological tank fueled by the madness of the warp dot. You watch a Black Legionnaire vault the parapet. He lands with a ground-shaking thud that collapses a section of the trench wall, burying 3 guardsmen alive. He does not stop. He swings a chain axe. The teeth of this weapon are not made of standard adamantium. They are Mecha Dragon teeth, harvested from the death worlds of the Maelstrom. They do not just cut. They chew. The motor revs to a scream, and the axe cleaves through the flak armor of a sergeant like it is wet paper. The impact throws the upper half of the man across the trench, while his legs remain standing for a second, twitching. The trench becomes an abattoir. The tight confines favor the giants. They move with a fluid liquid grace that makes the eyes hurt to follow. They use their bolters at point-blank range. The mass reactive shells detonating inside the torsos of the defenders. You see a white shield conscript. No older than 15 try to parry a blow with his lasgun. The Astartes simply backhands him. The force of the blow shatters every bone in the boy's face and snaps his neck instantly. The giant doesn't even look at him. He's already killing the next man. The mud turns red. It is not a metaphor. The blood flows so thickly that it mixes with the rainwater to create a crimson river at the bottom of the trench. The smell of copper is overwhelming, masking the ozone of the lost guns. Yet, the Cadians do not root. This is the miracle of the Cadian Gate. On any other world, the line would have broken in seconds. Here, the guardsmen climb over the bodies of their dead comrades to plunge their bayonets into the glowing eye lenses of the traitors. They detach the pins of their cracked grenades and tackle the Astartes, detonating themselves in suicide embraces. For the Emperor. For Cadia. They scream, their voices gargling with blood. You watch a heavy bolter team set up on a firing step. The gunner holds the trigger down, the massive weapon bucking in his hands. He pours a stream of high-explosive bolts into the chest of a possessed Marine. The creature's armor cracks, spilling out not blood, but writhing tentacles and black smoke. It screams a sound of pure, multitonal dissonance and keeps coming. It takes the heavy bolter shells, absorbs them into its mutating flesh, and leaps. The slaughter at the Elysion Fields is not a battle for territory. It is an equation of attrition. Abaddon is spending his lives to buy yards. He knows he has more bodies than they have bullets. Imperial records are fragmented here, and there is a disturbing scholarly ambiguity regarding the fate of the 114th Cadian Mechanized. Official logs state they were wiped out to a man holding the western flank. However, recovered Vox ghosts suggest that before they died, they were not fighting the Black Legion, but each other. Did the madness of the warp seep into their minds in those final moments? Did they see their brothers as monsters? Or is this merely a comforting lie to explain how quickly the flank collapsed? As the sun sets, or rather, as the burning sky dims to a darker shade of bruise, the trenches are silent. The firing has moved further back, towards the inner walls of Ursarkar. The Elysion Fields are a graveyard of mud. You look out over the carnage. The bodies are piled in mounds, Cadian green mixed with traitor black. The rain continues to fall, washing the blood into the soil of Cadia, feeding the planet with the sacrifice of its children. The first line has fallen. The meat grinder is turned, and it is hungry for more. The retreat is sounded. It is not a rout, but a fighting withdrawal. You fall back towards the secondary defense lines, stepping over the ruin of what was once the proudest army in the galaxy. The Despoiler has stepped onto the soil of Cadia, and the planet is beginning to bleed. The retreat from the Elysion Fields threatens to turn into a rout. You are running now, stumbling over the cracked ferrocrete of the approach roads to Ursarkar. The discipline of the Cadian Eighth is holding. Barely, but the regiments around you are shattering. Panic is a contagion, and it spreads faster than any virus. You see men dropping their lasguns to run faster. You see commissars firing their bolt pistols into the backs of their own troops, trying to stem the tide with fear. But the terror behind them is greater than the terror of the executioner. The sky is a swirling vortex of demonic faces. The laughter of the dark gods echoes in the wind, mocking your frailty. The shadows of the traitor titans lengthen, stretching out to swallow the last redoubt of the IMP, or IUM. Then, the darkness is blinded that it does not come from the pylons, nor from the orbital batteries. It comes from the heavens, a single point of golden luminosity that pierces the gloom of the eye of terror like a spear. The clouds of toxic smog burn away in an instant. The rain stops, vaporized by the sheer intensity of the arrival. You look up, shielding your eyes. A figure is descending. She does not fall. She dives. Wings of pure, blinding white light unfurl from her back wings that span 30 feet, shedding feathers that are not matter, but solidified psychic hope. She is clad in the Surodis power armor of the Order of Our Martyred Lady, but it is burnished to a mirror sheen that reflects the fires of the war below. Asterisk, asterisk. Saint Celestine asterisk, asterisk has returned. She hits the center of the traitor advance with the force of a meteorite. The impact throws world eaters into the air like ragdolls. She stands in the crater, the ardent blade burning in her hand. Let us examine the mechanics of this artifact. To the naked eye, it appears to be a master-crafted power sword, wreathed in promethium fire. But the flames do not consume fuel. They are powered by the Emperor's own psychic resonance. The blade cuts on a metaphysical level. When she swings it, it does not just sever the ceramite of a Chaos Marine's armor. It severs their connection to the warp. You watch as she decapitates a possessed champion. The demon inhabiting the body does not escape to the ether. It burns. It shrieks as it is erased from existence, denied its return to the great game. The Emperor protects. She cries. Her voice is not shouted, yet it cuts through the roar of the artillery. It is a voice of absolute, terrifying purity. The effect on the Cadians is instantaneous. The panic evaporates. The fatigue vanishes. You feel a surge of adrenaline that is not biological, but spiritual. The guardsmen who were throwing down their weapons stop. They look at the saint, shining like a star in the mud, and they remember who they are. For the saint, for the Emperor. The rout reverses. The Cadians turn. They fix bayonets. They charge back into the teeth of the Black Legion, driven by a religious fervor that overrides the instinct for self-preservation. You run with them, your fatigue forgotten, screaming a litany of hate against the darkness. But while the saint fights for the soul of Cadia, another entity has arrived to fight for its physics. That we shift our perspective away from the front lines, moving deep into the subterranean maintenance tunnels beneath the Elysion Pylon cluster. Here, the air is stale and dry. The screams of the war above are muffled by kilometers of rock. You stand in the shadow of asterisk asterisk. Archmagos Dominus Belisarius Cawl asterisk asterisk. He is a monster of red metal and ancient secrets. He towers over the accompanying scuttery, a hunchback centipede of mechadendrites, servo arms, and cogitator banks. He is more machine than man, having replaced his biological components over 10,000 years of continuous operation. He moves with a skittering, erratic grace, his multiple legs finding purchase on the uneven cavern floor. He is not here to fight the Black Legion. He considers the ground war to be an inefficient distraction. He is here for the stone. He approaches the base of the primary pylon. To a normal human, it is a smooth black monolith. To Cawl, it is a puzzle box. His optical sensors cycle through the electromagnetic spectrum, infrared, ultraviolet, X-ray, gamma. He bombards the Blackstone with sonar pings and radiation bursts. "Fascinating," he mutters, his voice a chorus of 3 different synthesizers speaking in harmony. The resonance frequency is shifting. The polarity is ... inverted. He extends a mechadendrite, tipping it with a data spike. He attempts to interface with the alien structure. Let us examine the Noctilith interface. The pylons are Necron technology, built to operate on principles that defy the understanding of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They do not use machine code. They do not have a machine spirit. They operate on nodal geometry and quantum manipulation. When Cawl's probe touches the stone, sparks of green lightning arc back up his arm. His internal logic coils scream a warning. The feedback is immense. It is like trying to plug a data slate into a supernova. The dampening field is failing, Cawl diagnoses, ignoring the smoke rising from his own limb. The warp is pushing through. The cage is bending. He turns to his acolyte, a tech priestess named Friedish. The network is not broken. It is merely out of tune. The ancients built it to resonate at a specific frequency to repel the Empyrean. The interference from the eye has drifted the signal. He begins to work. It is a surgery performed on a planetary scale. He deploys servo skulls armed with harmonic tuners. He orders his skittery to set up grav pulse generators around the base of the monoliths. He is attempting to overclock the pylons, but he is not alone in the dark. From the shadows of the tunnels, eyes glow green. Not the violet of the Cadians, nor the red of the traitors. This is the sickly emerald light of the Necrons. The automated guardians of the pylons, canoptic scarabs and spiders, are waking up. They sense the intruder. They sense the crude, fleshy tampering of the Mechanicus. Cawl does not pause. He activates his automatic arc reactor, the miniature sun beating in his chest. He deploys an omniscient axe, a weapon that crackles with power. "Keep the vermin off me," he commands his skittery. "I require 42 minutes to recalibrate the matrix." The tunnel erupts into a firefight. Green Gauss flare beams disintegrate the red robes of the skittery. Arc rifles fire jagged bolts of blue electricity into the swarms of metallic scarabs. Cawl ignores it all. He is lost in the data. He is communing with a technology that has been dead for 60 million years. He realizes the terrifying truth of Cadia. The planet is not a fortress built by the Imperium. It is a lid placed on a jar by a forgotten civilization. And the Imperium has been living on top of it, ignorant of its true purpose. Imperial records are fragmented here, and there is a significant scholarly ambiguity regarding Cawl's knowledge. Did he discover the purpose of the pylons in that moment? Or did he already know? Some inquisitors of the Ordo Xenos suggest that Cawl had been studying Blackstone for centuries in secret, violating the deepest laws against Xenos tech heresy. They claim he came to Cadia not to investigate, but to execute a plan he had been holding in reserve since the Horus heresy. Back on the surface, the Saint drives the blade of her sword through the chest of a Chaos Terminator. She looks up, her eyes blazing with golden fire. She feels the shift in the ground beneath her. She feels the pylons begin to hum with a new, aggressive rhythm. The spiritual war and the technological war are converging. Above, the light of the Emperor. Below, the cold logic of the Necrons. And caught in between, the flesh of the Cadian Guard is ground into dust. The stalemate is breaking, but the cost of the solution may be higher than the cost of the defeat. We leave the subterranean struggles of the tech priest and the desperate valor of the saint to return to the silence of the void. But the silence is deceptive. It is the held breath of a solar system waiting for execution. You are floating once again in the debris field of high orbit. Below you, the atmosphere of Cadia is roiling with the smoke of the ground war. Above you, the will of eternity hangs like a second hateful moon. The Blackstone Fortress has moved into a geosynchronous hold over the Kaiser Craft Citadel. It is charging its main weapon. The red light of the warp cannon builds in intensity, a crimson sun swelling in the dark. It is not targeting a ship this time. It is targeting the planet's crust. It intends to crack the world like an egg. The remnants of Battlefleet Cadia are scattered. They are burning wrecks drifting in the gravity well. There is nothing left to stop the Despoiler's flagship. The math of the engagement has resolved to zero, and then the sensors of the Will of Eternity scream. They detect a warp translation of massive displacement. It is not the jagged bleeding tear of a chaos entry. It is a precise, brutal puncture of reality. The Phalanx has arrived. You witness the arrival of the greatest warship in the Imperial inventory. It exits the warp not with a flash, but with a displacement of mass that sends shockwaves through the local dust clouds. It is a flying city, a golden mountain range of Gothic spires, weapon batteries, and docking bays. It is the mobile fortress monastery of the Imperial Fists, the Sons of Dorn, the Sentinels of Terra. Let us examine the scale of this Leviathan. The Phalanx is believed to predate the Imperium itself, a relic of the dark age of technology recovered by Rogel Dorn. It dwarfs even the Gloriana-class battleships of the Primarchs. Its prow is armored in layers of ceramite and adamantium so thick that it possesses its own microgravity. Its engines are not merely thrusters. They are tectonic plates of propulsion that drive the fortress forward with the inevitability of a glacier. On the bridge of the Phalanx, Captain Torgaradon stands amidst the tactical hololiths. He is a giant in yellow power armor, his face scarred, his expression one of stone-cold fury. The Phalanx is wounded. You can see the scars on its hull from the recent demonic incursion by the Iron Warriors and the Demon Prince Belikar. The repair crews have welded scrap metal over the breaches, giving the golden ship a ragged, vengeful appearance. But its heart, the plasma reactors deep within its core, burns hot. Target the alien fortress, Garadon commands. His voice is deep, vibrating through the deck plates. All power to forward shields. Ramming speed. It is a maneuver of madness. The Phalanx accelerates. It does not attempt to flank. It does not attempt to evade. It drives straight at the Will of Eternity like a fist punching into a face. The Blackstone Fortress reacts. The traitor crew realizes the threat. The warp cannon, halfway charged to destroy Cadia, is frantically realigned. The red eye of the fortress turns towards the onrushing Golden. Mountain.thr, the beam fires. You watch as the red lance of energy strikes the Phalanx. Any other ship would have evaporated. But the Phalanx is not any other ship. Its void shields are ancient, layered fields of energy that ripple and flare with the brightness of a supernova. The beam pushes against the shields, boiling the vacuum around the impact point. The Phalanx shudders. Inside, cathedral spires topple. Crewmen are thrown across decks. But the shields hold. The Phalanx closes the distance. It enters the kill box, the point-blank range where void warfare becomes a knife fight. Fire everything, Garadon orders. The broadsides of the Phalanx erupt. Thousands of macro cannons, lance batteries, and bombardment turrets fire simultaneously. It is a wall of solid munitions. Let us appreciate the technical devastation of a macro cannon broadside. Each shell is the size of a hab block, weighing tons, packed with high explosive atomics. When they strike the Will of Eternity, they do not just explode. They shatter the noctilith skin of the alien station. The Blackstone Fortress is designed to absorb energy, but it cannot absorb mass. The kinetic impact of the Imperial Fist's fury cracks the geometric perfection of the Chaos Star. You see massive shards of black stone, kilometers long, shearing off into space. The red light of the fortress flickers and dies as its internal power distribution fails. But the Phalanx is not done. It continues its charge. It slams its armored prow into the flank of the Will of Eternity. The collision is silent in the vacuum, but the visual violence is absolute. The golden prow crunches into the black stone. Metal screams against alien rock. The momentum of the Imperial fortress imparts a fatal rotational spin to the Blackstone station. The will of eternity groans a psychic sound heard by every psyker in the system as its structural integrity reaches critical failure. The traitor fleet panics. Their god ship is dying. The smaller Chaos cruisers break off their attack on the planet to swarm the Phalanx, like flies trying to sting a bear. They rake its hull with laser fire, but the Imperial fists ignore them. They have broken the back of the beast from the bridge. Aragon watches the will of eternity drift away, crippled, its weapons dark, its engines cold. It is a hulk, a dead thing floating in the dark. Engine room, reverse thrusters, he commands. Bring us into a defensive orbit over the Cadian North. We provide cover for the ground forces. The Phalanx pulls back, bleeding atmosphere and debris, but triumphant. It has saved the planet from immediate exterminatus. However, there is a scholarly ambiguity regarding the performance of the Phalanx that day. Imperial records state that the fortress was operating at less than 10% combat efficiency due to previous damage. Tech priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus speculate that the Phalanx should not have been able to withstand the warp cannon. They whisper that something else interceded, that perhaps the will of eternity hesitated. Its corrupted machine spirit fighting against the commands of the Despoiler. Or that the Emperor himself extended his protection to the flagship of his Praetorian son. Or perhaps, more disturbingly, the Blackstone fortress let itself be broken, serving a purpose that Abaddon had foreseen in his dark prophecies. You look down at the aftermath. The immediate threat of the laser has passed. But the danger has transformed. The will of eternity is no longer a weapon. It is a projectile. The massive star-shaped wreckage is caught in Cadia's gravity well. It is too large to burn up in the atmosphere. It is spiraling down, a slow-motion asteroid of black stone and hatred. The victory of the Phalanx has bought Cadia time, but it has also loaded a gun pointed at the planet's heart. The Void War is effectively over. The Phalanx dominates the high orbit, its guns driving back the traitor fleet. But the debris field is thickening. The sky of Cadia is about to fall. And down on the surface, amidst the mud and the blood, the soldiers look up and see a new star in the heavens, a black star, growing larger with every heartbeat. You are standing in the mud of the Elysion Fields, but the war has stopped. The last guns have fallen silent. The roar of the chain axes has ceased. For the first time in 10,000 years, the guns of Cadia are not firing. Every eye, human, transhuman, and demonic, is turned upwards. The sky has become a ceiling of fire. The destruction of the will of eternity in high orbit was a victory. Yes, but gravity is a cruel master. The debris of the moon-sized fortress, along with the husks of hundreds of destroyed warships, is now entering the atmosphere. It is a rain of annihilation. You watch as the clouds of toxic smog are burned away, replaced by a blinding, incandescent white light. The heat reaches you before the sound does. It is a dry, oven-like heat that evaporates the bloody mud around your boots and crisps the banners of the regiments. Then, the meteors strike. These are not rocks. They are jagged mountains of blackstone, reactor cores leaking radiation, and slabs of adamantium armor the size of cities. They streak through the sky, trailing plumes of ionized plasma. You throw yourself into the bottom of the trench, curling into a ball, praying to the God Emperor that the Earth will protect you. But the Earth itself is screaming, crack, boom, thud. The impacts are not singular events. They are a continuous drumroll of apocalypse. You feel the ground heave beneath you, throwing you into the air. The trench walls collapse. The world turns into a blur of brown soil and gray smoke. Let us examine the physics of a hypervelocity kinetic impact. When a fragment of starship hull weighing 50,000 tons strikes the surface at Mach 25, it does not merely crush what is beneath it. It liquefies it. The kinetic energy is converted instantly into thermal energy. The rock at the impact site turns into vapor. A shockwave of superheated air expands outward at the speed of sound, flattening everything in its path. You lift your head above the ruined parapet. The landscape of the Elysion Fields is gone. In its place is a cratered MOONSCAP dot to your left. A traitor Titan or Reaver-class engine named Hates. Messenger is struck by the drive section of a destroyed Imperial cruiser. The Titan's void shields flare violet and shatter instantly. The falling wreckage crushes the God Machine, crumpling its head and carapace into scrap metal. The reactor goes critical, adding a nuclear mushroom cloud to the Inferno. To your right, an entire regiment of Cadian white shields is erased. One moment they are standing in formation. The next, a shard of the Blackstone fortress slams into their position. There are no bodies left to bury. There is only a glass-smooth crater glowing with residual heat. The destruction is indiscriminate. The physics of the crash do not care about loyalty. You watch as thousands of Black Legionnaires are swept away by a landslide of burning ferrocrete. You see a Chimera transport thrown end over end by the wind, tumbling like a child's toy. But the greatest devastation occurs at the shield. Walls of the Khazars, the fortress cities of Cadia, are protected by Gellerfield void shields. Immense energy barriers designed to withstand orbital bombardment. But they were not designed for this. You watch as a massive chunk of the Will of Eternity, a section of the fortress nearly 4 kilometers wide, spirals down towards Khazar Kr. It strikes the main shield dome. The air screams. The energy barrier turns opaque, shifting from invisible to a blinding solid blue. The impact creates a feedback loop in the shield generators. Inside the city, capacitors the size of buildings explode. Tech priests are vaporized as their control consoles overload. The shield holds for a microsecond, absorbing the energy of a small nuclear warhead. Before it shatters, the debris punches through. It slams into the industrial district of the Khazar. The resulting earthquake measures 8.0 on the Richter scale. Towers crumble. Manufactorums collapse. The geography of the city is rewritten in seconds. Imperial records are fragmented regarding the casualty counts of the Great Reign. Strategos estimates suggest that 40% of the ground forces on both sides were incapacitated or killed within the first hour of the debris fall. However, there's a scholarly ambiguity here. Some reports from the Cadian Eighth indicate that the pylons, those mysterious Xenos obelisks, seem to emit a repulsive field. During the crash, they claim that the larger fragments of debris steered away from the pylons, as if the Blackstone on the ground was repelling the Blackstone falling from the sky. Was this a malfunction of the alien technology or a deliberate defensive protocol? Did the Necron Pylons save the remnants of the Cadian defenders, or were they simply protecting themselves? The bombardment slows, then stops. The sky is now a haze of choking dust and ash. The sun, what little of it could be seen through the eye of terror, is completely blocked out. It is a nuclear winter, descended in the span of an afternoon. You stand up, shaking the dirt from your flak armor. You check your lasgun. It is clogged with grit. You strip it, clean it, and reassemble it with trembling hands. The silence returns. But it is different now. It is the silence of a graveyard. Across the shattered wastes, movement stirs. The traitors are rising from the rubble. The surviving Astartes push debris off their armor, their red lenses glowing in the gloom. The Cadians crawl out of their collapsed dugouts. There's a moment of hesitation. The sheer scale of the destruction has stunned both sides. You look at a World Eater standing 50 meters away. He looks at you. For a second, you are just two survivors of a cosmic catastrophe. Then, the hate returns. The World Eater revs his chain axe. You raise your lasgun. The war has not ended. The board has simply been reset. The terrain is new mountains of wreckage where there were once plains, lakes of burning promethium where there were once bunkers. But the objective remains the same. Form up. The cry goes out. On the Castellan. Rally on the Castellan. You move towards the command center, navigating through a labyrinth of twisted metal. You see the wrecked hull of a Chaos Grand Cruiser embedded in the ground like a dagger. Its airlocks are blowing open. More traitors are spilling out, emerging directly onto the battlefield from the belly of the beast. The rain of fire has devastated the armies, but it has also brought reinforcements for the enemy. The ground war is no longer an invasion. It is a brawl in a burning house. And through the smoke, you see a shape moving. A silhouette that is larger than a man, larger than an Astartes. The Despoiler is no longer in orbit. He has ridden the debris down. He is on the surface. And he is coming to finish what the meteor shower started. The ashfall from the wreckage of the Will of Eternity coats everything in a thick gray shroud. You are wading through a landscape that resembles the surface of a dead moon, illuminated only by the flickering fires of burning starships. The air is toxic, heavy with the taste of sulfur and radiation. Your rebreather is struggling to filter out the particulates, leaving a metallic tang on your tongue. But there is a new presence on the battlefield. A gravity that pulls at your soul more than the planet, pulls at your boots. You are standing near the ruins of the Craft Citadel's outer wall. The rubble here is piled 10 stories high. At the summit of this mountain of destruction, a teleportation flare erupts. It is not the clean golden light of the Terminators, you know. It is a ragged bleeding wound in reality, black lightning arcing into the ground. The rock melts where it touches, from the smoke. Abaddon the Despoiler steps forth. Let us examine the War Master of Chaos. He is a giant among giants. A figure of nightmare clad in the armor of Terminator. An ancient suit of tactical dreadnought plate that has been fused with the spirits of demons. It is black as the void, trimmed with the gold of fallen empires. On his right hand, he wears the talon of Horus, a lightning claw that drank the blood of Sanguinius and crushed the throat of the Emperor's favorite son. In his left hand, he wields Draconian, the demon sword, a blade that screams with the voices of 1,000 murdered worlds. He does not run. He does not charge. He walks. His stride is inexorable. Every step cracks the ferrocrete beneath his boots. Around him, the Justarin Terminators, his elite bodyguard, teleport in. They are massive, silent killers in black armor, but they are dwarfed by their lord. The Cadian defenders on the ridge open fire. Heavy bolters, las cannons, auto-cannons, a storm of ordnance that would level a building pours into the War Master. You watch as the shells strike his armor. They do not penetrate. The mark of Chaos Ascendant, the blessing of all 4 dark gods, surrounds him in a halo of unholy power. Lost beams dissipate harmlessly against his aura. Bolter shells detonate, but the shrapnel simply bounces off the ceramite. He walks through the firestorm as if it were a gentle rain. Cadia stands. A sergeant screams, charging the Despoiler with a power sword. Abaddon does not even look at him. He backhands the man with the talon of Horus. The lightning claws tear through the flak armor, the flesh, and the bone. The sergeant is not just killed. He is obliterated, turned into a red mist that sprays across the rubble. The Despoiler reaches the front line. The slaughter that follows is methodical. He is not a berserker like Karn. He is a warlord. He fights with a terrifying efficiency. Draconian flickers, a blur of shadow that severs tank barrels and decapitates Ogryns with equal ease. You are frozen in place. The transhuman dread radiating from him is amplified by the warp stuff clinging to his soul. You feel small. You feel like an insect standing before a boot. This is the man who broke the legions. This is the man who has burned the galaxy for 10,000 years, but he is not here for you. He is here for the stone. He looks past the slaughter, his golden eyes locking onto the distant spire of the primary pylon. He can feel the hum of the Blackstone. It irritates him. It is a discordant note in the symphony of chaos he is trying to conduct. "Bring it down," he growls. His voice is deep, like tectonic plates grinding together. The Black Legion surges forward behind him. They are emboldened by the presence of their father. The World Eaters, the Death Guard, the Thousand Suns, the fractured warbands unite into a single cohesive spear tip. The Cadian line begins to buckle. How can mortal men stand against a demigod? "Hold the line!" The shout comes from the command chimera. Ursarkar Creed has arrived. The Lord Castellan is not a demigod. He is a fat man in a coat. He has no genetic augmentations. He has no psychic powers. But he has a will of iron that rivals the Despoiler's armor. Creed orders the Cascran, the elite stormtroopers of Cadia, to countercharge. It is suicide. They know it. He knows it. Go. Creed bellows, puffing on his cigar. "Buy us time. For every inch of ground, make them pay a gallon of blood." You watch the Cascran move. They are professionals. They do not scream war cries. They move in silent coordination, their Helgans firing hotshot last bolts that can punch through power armor. They engage the Gestiran Terminators. It is a battle of ants against beetles. They swarm the traitors, targeting the knee joints, the eye lenses, the power cables. A Cascran captain manages to plant a melt-a-bomb on the leg of a Chaos Terminator. Flash, the leg vaporizes. The giant topples. Before he hits the ground, 3 more Cascran are there, stabbing their combat knives into the exposed neck seal. But for every Terminator that falls, Abaddon kills 10 men. He is carving a path straight towards the pylon. Suddenly, a new sound cuts through the din of battle. A howling metallic shriek from the flank. A Warhound Scout Titan of the Legio Ignatum, the Fire Wasps, strides into view. It is damaged, smoke pouring from its void shield generators, but its weapons are active. Target identified, the Princeps voices over the Voxcaster. Traitor Warlord, engaging. The Warhound lowers its plasma blast gun. It fires a sun-hot ball of energy directly at Abaddon. The explosion engulfs the Warmaster. The ground turns to glass. For a moment, you think it is over. Nothing could survive that. Then, the smoke clears. Abaddon is still standing. His armor is scorched, glowing with heat, but unbroken. The demon sword Draconine is pulsing, having absorbed the energy of the plasma blast. He looks up at the Titan. He laughs. "Machine!" He roars. "Bow before your master." He gestures with the Talon. A flight of Helldrake's demonic aircraft, shaped like dragons, swoops down from the smog. They latch onto the Warhound Titan, tearing at its cockpit with metal claws. The Titan stumbles, its weapons firing wildly into the sky. As the demons dismantle it piece by piece, Abaddon turns back to the pylon. He is unstoppable. He is the end of days given form. The Cadian Eighth is breaking. The Cascran are dying. The Titans are falling. You look at Creed. His face is pale, illuminated by the fires of the burning Titan. He is running out of cards to play. The tactical genius of the Imperium has met the brute force of the warp. And the math is not in his favor. The Warmaster takes another step towards the pylon. With every step, the hum of the Blackstone seems to weaken. The eye of terror above grows brighter, the purple clouds descending like a shroud. The ground war is lost. Unless a miracle occurs, Cadia will fall within the hour. The line is breaking. The Cadian Eighth, the greatest regiment in the history of the Imperial Guard, is dissolving under the weight of the Black Legion's assault. You are falling back, firing your lascan blindly into the smoke, your boots slipping on the blood-slicked rock. Abaddon is a force of nature, a dark gravity that pulls victory towards him. The pylon is only a kilometer away now. Its black surface looms over the battlefield. a silent witness to the end of the world. Creed is screaming orders into the Vox, but there is no one left to answer. The reserves are spent. The Kashkan are dead. The Titans are burning wrecks. Is this it? You whisper to yourself. Is this how the story ends? And then, the air freezes. It is not the cold of the Cadian wind. It is the absolute zero of a tomb. A green light, cold and lifeless, bathes the battlefield. It does not cast shadows. It erases them. On the ridge overlooking the slaughter, space twists. A portal opens, not the ragged tear of the warp, but a perfect, geometric circle of emerald energy. From this gateway steps a figure of silver and green metal. He is tall, hunched, and draped in a cloak of shifting metallic scales. He carries a staff topped with a glowing resurrection orb. Trazyn, the infinite, has arrived. Let us examine the overlord of Solemnus. He is a Necron, an ancient Xenos historian who collects moments of history like a child collects insects. He is not here out of altruism. He is here because Cadia is his favorite exhibit. He has watched this fortress world stand for 10,000 years, and he refuses to let a barbarian like Abaddon ruin his collection. He looks down at the chaos. His mechanical face is impassive, but his optical sensors whirl with calculation. He sees the desperate Imperials. He sees the triumphant Chaos Horde. Such a waste, Trazyn intones, his voice a dry rasp that sounds like sand pouring over metal. This display is becoming untidy. He reaches into the folds of his dimensional cloak. He pulls out a tesseract labyrinth. This is a hyper-technological prison, a pocket dimension the size of a Rubik's Cube. Inside, Trazyn keeps his spare parts. He holds it aloft. The cube glows with blinding light. I have need of you, Trazyn whispers. Do not disappoint me. He throws the cube. It shatters in midair. You expect an explosion. Instead, you get an army. Reality folds outward. From the expanding light, figures emerge. But they are not Necrons. They are history. First, you see the Vostroyan Firstborn, a regiment from a century past, their ornate red coats and bearskin hats pristine, their lasguns leveled. They open fire instantly, confused but disciplined, pouring volley after volley into the startled Black Legionnaires. Then, something larger emerges. A massive red-armored figure with a power fist and a stormbolter. Captain Brother Matthew of the Ultramarines, a hero thought lost in the warp 500 years ago. He roars a challenge and charges a squad of berserkers, his stormbolter thumping. But the greatest prize is yet to come. From the center of the light, a giant in gold steps forth. He is huge, even for an Astartes. He wears the custodian guard armor of the Emperor's own bodyguards. This is not just a custodes. This is a shield captain. He moves with a speed that makes the Space Marines look sluggish. His guardian spear spins, a blur of power blades that slices through the traitor Terminators like they are made of wax. The Cadians stop retreating. They stare. They do not understand. Are these ghosts? Angels? Do not question the miracle. Creed shouts, his voice cracking with relief. Attack! Push them back! The battlefield transforms into a museum of war come to life. You see Heresy-era warriors fighting alongside modern guardsmen. You see Xenos mercenaries, Kroot and Eldar, that Trazyn had collected fighting back-to-back with Sisters of Battle. It is a chaotic, impossible alliance, held together only by the shared enemy. Abaddon stops. For the first time, the Despoiler pauses. He looks up at Trazyn on the ridge. Xenos. Abaddon roars, pointing Draconian at the Necron. You interfere in the affairs of gods. Trazyn tilts his head. Gods? I see only vandals breaking my property. He snaps his fingers. The ground around the pylon erupts. But this time, it is not Trazyn's collection. It is the planet's own immune system. Under Trazyn's command, or perhaps Cawl's. The timeline is confused here. The canoptic constructs hidden beneath the surface surge up. Massive metallic centipedes, tomb stalkers, burst from the rock, wrapping their segmented bodies around the chaos tanks, crushing them with hydraulic force. Scarab swarms, billions strong, flow over the Black Legion like a carpet of living metal, stripping flesh from bone in seconds. The momentum of the battle shifts. The sheer absurdity of the reinforcements has thrown the traitors off balance. The Black Legion is fighting a war on two fronts, against the rejuvenated Imperials and against the ancient defenses of the Necrons. You find yourself running forward again. You are fighting alongside a Vostroyan who died 200 years before you were born. He passes you a fresh power pack for your Laskin. He doesn't speak. He just nods. For the Emperor. You scream together. The irony is lost on no one. The Imperium, the xenophobic empire that preaches "suffer not the alien to live," is being saved by a soulless robot who sees humans as nothing more than interesting pets. But Trazyn is not fighting for the Imperium. He is fighting for the Pylons. He knows what Cawl is doing in the tunnels below. He knows that if the tech priest succeeds, the Eye of Terror will be closed. And a closed eye means a safer galaxy for Trazyn's galleries. "Hurry, little spider," Trazyn mutters, looking towards the tunnel entrance where Cawl is working. "I cannot hold back the tide forever. My collection is ... finite." Abaddon realizes the danger. He sees the pylon beginning to glow with a new, intense energy. The hum is becoming a roar. He ignores the Custodes. He ignores the Vostroyans. He focuses all his rage, all his power, on reaching the monolith. He charges. And this time, not even the exhibits of history can slow him down. He smashes aside a Contemptor dreadnought, tearing its sarcophagus open with his claw. He is coming for the stone. The stage is set for the final act. The museum is open, but the curator is running out of exhibits. And the vandal is at the door with his sledgehammer. We descend once more into the suffocating darkness beneath the earth. The battle raging above, the impossible alliance of Necron, man and ghost, is merely a delaying action. The true war, the war for the physics of the galaxy, is happening here in the damp, claustrophobic tunnels of the Elysion Pylon cluster. Archmagos Belisarius Cawl is working faster than humanly possible. His mechadendrites are a blur of motion, interfacing with a dozen different control nodes simultaneously. The air around him is thick with the smell of ozone and the dry metallic scent of energized blackstone. Resonance at 84%, he announces to the empty air. The dampening field is stabilizing. He is attempting the impossible. He is trying to activate the Cadian Pylon network at full power. Let us examine the mechanics of this activation. The pylons are not just rocks. They are tuning forks for reality. When activated, they emit a null field, a wave of anti-psychic energy that pushes back the warp. It creates a zone of absolute reality, where demons cannot exist, where psychic powers fail, and where the laws of physics are rigidly enforced. It is the ultimatetiest weapon, but to turn it on requires a key. And Cawl has brought it. He reaches into a stasis casket carried by one of his servitors. He pulls out a device, a small, intricate sphere of blackstone, glowing with an inner green light. It is a fragment of the Pharos, the ancient alien beacon he studied during the heresy. He slots the artifact into the central control. Pedestal.trum snap. The sound is not loud, but it is felt in the marrow of the bone. The pylon shudders. The green light pulsing through its veins turns to a blinding cold white. Integration complete, Cawl buzzes, initiating the great work. Above ground, the effect is instantaneous and terrifying. You are standing near the base of the pylon, fighting off a squad of bloodletters. Suddenly, the demons scream. It is not a scream of pain, but of dissolution. Their physical forms, made of warp stuff and belief, begin to flicker like a bad hololith. The blood evaporates into smoke. The brass swords turn to dust. In seconds, the demons are gone, banished back to the Empyrean not by holy fire, but by the denial of their existence. The null field expands. It hits the traitor Astartes next. The Chaos Space Marines are not demons, but they are fueled by the warp. You see a possessed Marine fall to his knees, clutching his head. The demon inside him is being ripped out. He vomits black ichor as his body rejects the mutations. The blessings of the dark gods, the extra limbs, the scales, the horns, begin to rot and fall off. They are left as shriveled, broken men in rusted armor, stripped of their power. But the field does not discriminate. You feel a coldness grip your heart. It is a feeling of absolute emptiness. The small, subconscious connection every human has to the warp, the spark of the soul, is being dampened. You feel lonely. You feel hollow. Saint Celestine feels it most of all. She is hovering above the battlefield, her sword a beacon of golden light. As the null field hits her, the light dies. Her wings of psychic energy fade. She falls. She hits the ground not as an angel, but as a mortal woman in heavy armor. She struggles to stand, gasping for breath, her divine power stripped away. She is just a human now. A very tired, very wounded human. And in the tunnels, Trazyn the Infinite laughs. It works, the Necron chuckles. The primitive actually made it work. But the activation is not gentle. The pylons are old. They have been damaged by 10,000 years of war. The black stone is cracking under the strain. The hum is becoming a shriek. The ground begins to shake violently, triggering earthquakes that swallow entire tanks. Cawl monitors the readouts. The field is expanding exponentially. At this rate, the Eye of Terror will be sealed within 3 standard hours. It is the victory the Imperium has prayed for. The closing of the gate. The end of the long war. But Abaddon knows this too. On the surface, the Despoiler stumbles. The halo of dark power surrounding him flickers and dies. Draconian, the demon sword, goes silent in his hand. For the first time in millennia, he is mortal. He is just a space marine. A massive, genetically engineered, incredibly dangerous space marine. But mortal nonetheless. He looks up at the pylon. He sees the white beam of anti-reality shooting into the sky. Cutting through the purple clouds of the eye, he sees the warp storms receding. Replaced by the cold, black perfection of real space, he roars. It is a sound of pure, unadulterated rage. He has sacrificed everything for this moment. He has burned worlds, slaughtered billions, and bargained with gods. He will not let a tech priest and a pile of rocks steal his destiny. Kill them all. Abaddon bellows to his surviving Black Legionnaires. Ignore the demons. Use your bolters. Use your blades. Cut them down. The battle shifts from a supernatural war to a grind of meat and metal. The demons are gone. The magic is gone. It is just men killing men in the mud. Abaddon charges the pylon. He is no longer protected by warp shields. A last cannon shot from a Cadian heavy weapons team grazes his shoulder, blasting away a chunk of his Terminator armor. He grunts in real pain, but keeps moving. He is faster than any human, stronger than any machine. He plows through the Cadian defenders, his lightning claw shredding them. He is heading for the tunnel entrance. He knows Cawl is down there. Creed sees this. He grabs his Voxcaster. All units, converge on the pylon. Protect the Magos. If that machine stops, we all die. You hear the order. You are tired. Your ammunition is low. Your soul feels numb from the null field, but you move. You run towards the pylon, towards the towering black needle that is stitching the galaxy back together, and you are not alone. Celestine picks herself up from the mud. She draws a combat knife. Her power sword is dead. She looks at Greyfax, the Inquisitor who has been fighting alongside her. "One last time," Celestine whispers. "One last time," Greyfax agrees. Loading a fresh magazine into her bolt gun dot, they run to intercept the Despoiler. The final duel for the Soul of Cadia, or rather, for the physics of Cadia, is about to begin. The gods are gone. The magic is dead. All that is left is steel, stone, and the will to survive. The universe has shrunk to the size of a gladiatorial pit. The war of millions has dissolved. The orbital bombardments, the titan duels, the sweeping maneuvers of armored columns, all of it is background noise. The history of the 41st millennium is being decided in a circle of mud and cracked Ursarkar, no larger than a throne room. Beneath the shadow of the screaming pylon, you are witnessing the duel for the Soul of Cadia. The air is vibrating with the white-hot intensity of the null field. It is a physical pressure, like standing at the bottom of a deep ocean. The pylon above is firing a beam of pure anti-reality into the sky, widening the tear in the clouds, forcing the eye of terror to blink shut. But on the ground, the cost of this salvation is absolute weakness. Abaddon the Despoiler reaches the inner perimeter. He is stripped of his aura. The shadows that usually wreath him are gone. The demonic faces in his armor are silent, frozen in screaming bas-relief. He is no longer the vessel of the Four. He is merely Ezekiel Abaddon, first captain of the Sons of Horus, but merely is a dangerous word. Let us examine the physiology of a veteran Astartes in Terminator plate. Even without the warp, Abaddon stands nearly 3 meters tall. His skeletal structure is reinforced with ceramite. His muscles are braided cables of vat-grown dense tissue. He weighs as much as a small car. And he is clad in the armor of Terminator, a suit of tactical dreadnought armor that makes him a walking tank. He smashes through a barricade of sandbags. A Cadian heavy bolter team opens fire. The mass reactive shells explode against his chest plate. He does not flinch. He steps forward, swinging the Talon of Horus, the ancient lightning claw, the weapon that killed the Primarch Sanguinius, shreds the gunner and the loader in a single, brutal backhand. Is this all? Abaddon roars, his voice amplified by his vox grill, raw with frustration. Is this the best the corpse god can offer? He is answered by a bolt of silver fire. Inquisitor Katarina Greyfax stepped from the ruins. She is a hunter of witches, a woman of iron will. Under the null field, her psychic powers are gone. Her Condemner bolt gun is just a heavy rifle, but she fires with the precision of a machine. She targets the joints of Abaddon's armor, the neck, the armpit, the back of the knee. The bolts spark against the adamantium. Abaddon turns, growling. He raises the Talon to crush her, but he is intercepted. Saint Celestine launches herself at him. She has no wings. She has no golden halo. She is bleeding from a dozen wounds. She wields a combat knife she pulled from a dead guardsman's belt. She is faster than a human, has any right to be dodging the lumbering swing of the Talon. She leaps onto Abaddon's back. She drives the knife into the seal of his gorget, trying to find the throat. Abaddon thrashes like a bear with a wolf on its back. He reaches back, grabbing Celestine by her armor. He throws her. She hits a slab of concrete with a bone-shattering crunch. "You are nothing without your tricks, witch." Abaddon sneers. He raises Draconian. The demon sword is gray and lifeless, dead weight in his hand, but it is still a massive bar of sharpened alien metal. He brings it down to cleave her in two. Clang. The blow is parried. Not by a sword, but by a force field. Ursarkar Creed stands over the fallen saint. He has activated his refractor field, a rare piece of archaeotech that creates a shimmering bubble of kinetic energy. The demon sword bounces off the field, sending a shockwave through the ground. Creed holds his hot-shot las pistols in both hands. He is a mortal man. He is overweight. He is tired. He is standing toe-to-toe with the War Master of Chaos. Cadia stands, Creed growls. Clamping his cigar between his teeth, he fires. Twin beams of coherent light strike Abaddon's helmet. They burn shallow grooves into the ceramite, blinding the Despoiler's left tactical lens. Abaddon roars in annoyance. He swings the Talon of Horus. The refractor field flares violet and shatters. The generator on Creed's belt burns out. The impact throws the Lord Castellan backward. He rolls, coughing blood, his coat torn, his ribs broken. But he has bought time. Celestine is up again. Greyfax is firing again. It is a desperate, messy brawl. There is no elegance here. It is a street fight. They are trying to drag the giant down by sheer weight of numbers and hatred. You watch as Greyfax draws her power sword and hacks at Abaddon's knee servos. You watch Celestine slide under a swing of Draconian to stab at his groin cabling. Abaddon stumbles. The servos in his right leg whine and spark. For a second, he drops to one knee. A cheer goes up from the surviving Cadians. Kill him. Kill the traitor. But the Despoiler is not done. He is driven by a bitterness that has fermented for 10,000 years. He pushes himself up, the motors of his armor screaming against the damage. He catches Greyfax with a backhand blow that sends her flying into the rubble, unconscious. He kicks Celestine, shattering her breastplate, leaving her gasping in the mud. He stands alone in the center of the circle. He is battered. His armor is breached in a dozen places. He is bleeding black, thick blood. But he is still standing. He looks at the pylon. It is agonizingly close. Just 50 meters away. The hum is reaching a crescendo. The beam is fully stabilized. The Eye of Terror is shrinking. He can see the stars, the real stars appearing in the sky. If he does not act now, the long war ends in defeat. He ignores the fallen heroes. He begins to run towards the tunnel entrance. He intends to go underground. He intends to find Cawl and rip the tech priest apart with his bare hands. Stop him! Creed wheezes, trying to lift his pistols. Someone! Stop him! You are there. You are standing in his path. You and a handful of the Cadian Eighth. You raise your lasguns. Your hands are shaking. You are looking at a creature out of myth, a monster that eats worlds. Abaddon does not slow down. He charges, you fire. The lost bolts hit his armor like rain on a roof. He crashes into your line. You witness the brutality of mass and momentum. He does not even use his weapons. He simply runs through you. Guardsmen are trampled. Bones snap like dry twigs. You are thrown aside by the shockwave of his passage, landing hard in the mud. Your vision blurs. You see him reach the blast doors of the tunnel. He tears them off their hinges as if they were cardboard. He disappears into the dark, descending towards the pylon's control chamber. The heroes have fallen. The line has broken. The Despoiler is inside the machine. Imperial records are fragmented regarding the exact timeline of these final moments. Some claim that Abaddon fought his way down to Cawl and engaged the Magos in combat. Others suggest he never made it that far. Scholarly ambiguity surrounds the decision he made next. Did he realize he could not win the physical fight? Did he realize that even if he killed Cawl, the pylon was already self-sustaining? Or did the voices of the gods return to him in the darkness? The null field is strong, but the Despoiler's connection to the warp is absolute. Deep in the tunnels, shielded by kilometers of rock, perhaps a whisper got through. A whisper that told him he could not win the battle for the ground, but he could still win the war for the galaxy. You drag yourself up. The silence of the battlefield is terrifying. The pylon is still humming, still saving the universe. But the enemy has vanished. Then the ground shakes. Not the vibration of the machine, but a tremor from above. The vengeful spirit, Abaddon's flagship, is in low orbit. It has received a signal. A signal from the surface. A teleportation Homer. Abaddon is leaving. He has abandoned the fight. He has abandoned his legion on the surface. He has conceded the duel. But as the teleport flare erupts from the tunnel entrance, whisking the War Master back to his ship, you realize with a sinking horror that he is not retreating in defeat. He is retreating to a firing position. The ground war is over. The physics war is over. The heroes won. They held the line, but the Despoiler is a sore loser. And he has one last card to play, a card the size of a Blackstone fortress. The silence that falls over the Cadian Pylon fields is more deafening than the roar of the bolters. You are standing in the churned mud, your breath misting in the cooling air. The green beam of the pylons has stabilized into a solid pillar of white light, a cosmic lance that is visibly stitching the wound in the sky closed. For the first time in your life, and perhaps for the first time in 10,000 years, the purple bruise of the Eye of Terror is fading. The stars, the true hard, cold stars of the materium, are blinking into existence where once there was only madness. A cheer begins. It starts low, a rumble in the throat of a single guardsman, then spreads like wildfire. Victory! The Despoiler runs. Cadia stands. You watch as the Black Legion retreats. It is not a panicked rout, but a cold, mechanical withdrawal. Teleportation flares erupt across the battlefield in a synchronized grid. One moment, a squad of Terminators is holding a ridge. The next, they are gone, leaving behind only the smell of ozone and the empty shells of their bolters. The traitor Astartes are vanishing, pulled back to their ships in orbit, but they leave the rest behind. Let us examine the cynicism of the heretic Astartes. To them, the millions of cultists, beastmen, and traitor guardsmen who fought alongside them are not comrades. They are ammunition. You see the cultists looking around in confusion as their dark masters disappear. They scream pleas to the empty air, begging to be taken, begging for salvation. But the teleport homers are locked only to the genetic signature of the Astartes. The cultists are left to the mercy of the vengeful Cadians. And the Cadians have no mercy left. The slaughter that follows is grim work. It is the cleaning of a wound. But while the Cadians celebrate the scouring of the surface, you must turn your gaze upward, to the high orbit where the true architect of this war is licking his wounds. You are now standing on the bridge of the vengeful spirit. This is hallowed and cursed ground. This is the flagship of the War Master, the vessel that led the Great Crusade, and the vessel that burned Terra. It is a Gloriana-class battleship, a Leviathan of the old wars, 20 kilometers of Gothic spires and gun decks. The air here does not smell of recycled oxygen. It smells of ancient dried blood, incense, and the copper tang of demon flesh. The ship is alive. The bulkheads breathe. The wires run with ichor instead of electricity. Abaddon the Despoiler enters the stratagem. He does not stride in triumph. He limps. Smoke rises from the joints of his Terminator armor. His face, unmasked now, is a ruin of burns and bruises. The null field of the pylons has stripped him of his godlike aura. He feels the ache in his bones, the fatigue in his muscles. He is, for this brief moment, entirely human. And he is entirely defeated. He collapses into his command throne, a seat built from the fused trophies of 10,000 years of war. Apothecaries rush forward, their chirurgeon limbs clicking, but he waves them away with a snarl. "Status," he rasps. His voice is shards of glass. "The ground war is untenable, War Master," a sorcerer reports, cringing. "The pylon network is fully active. The warp is receding. We have lost contact with the Neverborn. Our fleets are blind. The Phalanx is moving to intercept us." Abaddon looks at the main oculus. He sees Cadia spinning below. He sees the white beam of the pylon. He sees the closing eye. He has failed. The realization is a bitter pill. He threw everything at this. The 13th Black Crusade was the endgame. He emptied the Eye of Terror. He brought the Demon Primarchs. He brought the Titan Legions. And he was stopped by a collection of ghosts, a metal skeleton, and a stubborn fat man with a cigar. He grips the armrests of his throne. The metal buckles under his fingers. The rage building inside him is not the hot, fiery rage of corn. It is the cold, crushing gravity of a black hole. They think they have won, Abaddon whispers. They think that because they held the wall, the house is safe. He looks at the tactical hololith. He sees the debris field orbiting the planet. He sees the massive, shattered hulk of the Will of Eternity. The Blackstone Fortress is dead, its weapon systems destroyed, its reactor cold. It is just a rock, but a rock has mass. Strategos, Abaddon barks. The plasma drives on the larger fragments of the fortress. Are they operational? The weapon systems are gone, War Master. But the maneuvering thrusters on the central fragment ... They are offline, but the fuel cells are intact. Abaddon smiles. It is a smile that would stop a heart. Reignite them, War Master? The Strategos hesitates. The targeting cogitators are destroyed. We cannot fire the weapon. I do not want to fire the weapon, Abaddon growls, leaning forward, his eyes burning with a spite that transcends strategic logic. I want to become the weapon. Calculate a collision vector. Drive the fragment into the planet. The bridge crew freezes. To destroy a world is one thing. To waste a Blackstone fortress, even a broken one, is a sacrifice of untold value. These are irreplaceable artifacts of the great enemy. Do it. Abaddon roars. If I cannot have the prize, then I will break the game. Let us examine the physics of this decision. The central fragment of the Will of Eternity is roughly the size of the continent of Australia. It is currently in a degrading orbit. Abaddon is ordering his tech priests to overload the maneuvering thrusters, not to stabilize the orbit, but to accelerate the degradation. He is turning the fortress into a kinetic kill vehicle. The order is sent. On the drifting hulk of the fortress, dormant plasma drives flare to life. They sputter, cough, and then ignite with a blinding blue flame. Down on the surface, the celebration is cut short. You are standing next to Ursarkar Creed. He is bandaged, leaning heavily on a medic, watching the sky. He sees the teleport flares of the retreat and allows himself a moment of hope. We did it, he wheezes. By the throne, we actually did it. Then the light changes. The shadows on the ground shift. You look up. The debris field is not drifting anymore. The largest chunk, the jagged star-shaped heart of the enemy fortress, is moving. It is turning. It is accelerating. A low moan rises from the ranks of the Cadian Eighth. It is the sound of men who have walked through hell, only to find that the exit door is locked. The Auspex! A Vox officer screams, detecting massive kinetic acceleration. The object is... it's falling. It's powered. Creed stares at the sky. He understands instantly. He knows the mind of the Despoiler. He knows that Abaddon is not a conqueror. He is a destroyer. He's throwing it at us, Creed whispers. The cigar falls from his mouth. There's a scholarly ambiguity here that historians of the 42nd millennium still debate. Was this Abaddon's plan all along? Did he know the ground invasion would fail and kept the fortress as a failsafe? Or was it a moment of pure, petulant nihilism, a child flipping the board because he was losing the game? The evidence suggests the latter. The destruction of Cadia was not a tactical necessity for the Black Legion's retreat. It was an act of supreme spite. On the bridge of the vengeful spirit, Abaddon watches the trajectory lock in. The red line on the hololith intersects with the center of the Kaiserkraft continent. Helmsman, Abaddon says, his voice flat. Take us out. Maximum warp as soon as we clear the gravity well. But War Master, the helmsman asks, the null field? The pylons are closing the route. The impact will shatter the pylons, Abaddon replies, settling back into his throne. The shockwave will destroy the matrix. The eye will open again. And this time, it will not just bleed. It will tear the galaxy in half. He closes his eyes. He does not need to watch. He knows what comes next. On the surface, the sky turns white. The will of eternity enters the upper atmosphere. It is too big to burn up. It is too big to shoot down. The Phalanx fires its guns, blasting chunks off the falling mountain. But it is like shooting at an avalanche with a pistol. You stand in the shadow of the end of the world. The wind picks up, hot and dry. The ground begins to shake, a prelude to the impact that will silence the heartbeat of a sector. The victory lasted exactly 45 minutes. The defeat will last for eternity. You are standing at the end of history. The sky above Cadia Prime has ceased to be a sky. It is now a wall of descending black stone. The central fragment of the will of eternity occupies the entire horizon, a jagged burning continent falling from the stars. It pushes a bowshock of superheated plasma before it, a wall of fire that incinerates the clouds and boils the moisture from the air. You look around at the men and women of the Cadian Eighth. There is no panic anymore. Panic is a reaction to a survivable threat, a biological impulse to flee from a predator. But you cannot flee from gravity. You cannot outrun an extinction event. The sheer monolithic inevitability of the impact has stripped away the fear, leaving only a strange, cold clarity. Ursarkar Creed stands on the rampart of the command bastion. He does not run for a bunker. He knows that no bunker on Cadia is deep enough to survive what is coming. He lights a fresh cigar, the flame steady in his hands. He looks at the falling fortress, then he looks at his troops. Cadia stands, he says. It is not a shout. It is a statement of fact. And then, the universe turns white. The impact occurs. Let us examine the geophysics of a planetary killer. Event: the fragment of the Blackstone Fortress, massing trillions of tons, strikes the surface of Cadia at hypervelocity. It hits the Antipodean continent, the side of the planet opposite to Kaiser Kraf. In the first millisecond. The impact site is not destroyed. It is sublimated. The rock, the water, the air, everything is instantly converted into high-energy plasma. The kinetic energy transfer is so vast that the planetary crust behaves like a liquid. The ground ripples. Great waves of molten rock, kilometers high, ripple outward from the impact zone. Moving faster than the speed of sound, you do not hear the impact. The sound is so loud it bypasses the auditory nerves and registers as a physical blow to the chest. You are knocked off your feet, not by the wind, but by the ground jumping 3 meters into the air. The planet rings like a struck bell deep beneath the surface. In the tunnels where Archmagos Cawl fought for the future, the victory turns to ash. The Cadian Pylons, those ancient, delicate needles that were stitching the reality of the galaxy back together, are anchored in the crust. When the crust liquefies, the anchors fail. You watch with a sinking heart as the great pylon of the Elysion Fields, the pillar of white light that was holding back the warp shutters. A crack, loud as a thunderclap, runs up its obsidian length. The hum, the beautiful stabilizing hum, turns into a scream of tortured geometry. The pylon snaps. It shatters into a million shards of dead black stone. The white beam flickers and dies. The effect is instantaneous. The null field collapses. The cage is broken. Above you, the stars that had just returned blink out. The purple bruise of the Eye of Terror rushes back in, darker and more angry than before. The demons, banished only moments ago, claw their way back into reality, riding the shockwaves of the dying world. The barrier between the materium and the immaterium is not just thin. It is gone. Cadia is no longer shielding the galaxy. It is drowning in the warp. But the most terrifying thing is not the magic. It is the ground. You pull yourself up from the shaking earth. You look at the horizon. It is rising. A wall of dust, ash, and fire, stretching from the ground to the stratosphere, is racing towards you. It is the atmospheric displacement of the impact. A global firestorm that will scour the planet clean. And yet, the guard does not break. This is the moment that will be etched into the memory of the species for 10,000 years. You see a regiment of Cadian shock troopers, the 412th, stationed on a ridgeline facing the oncoming wall of death. The ground beneath them is cracking. Magma is spewing from fissures in the ferrocrete. The very continent they are standing on is disintegrating. They do not run. Line formation. Their colonel bellows. Eyes front. Present arms. They form a firing line. Against a tsunami of fire. Against the death of their world. They snap their lasguns to their shoulders. They stand at attention. They are not fighting an enemy they can kill. They are fighting the concept of defeat. They are refusing to let the planet die without an honor guard. You witness the birth of the legend. The ground crumbles beneath their boots. The cliff face shears away, dropping entire squads into the magma below. They do not scream. They fall in formation. The planet breaks. The tectonic plates shatter. The core is exposed. Cadia is dying, but the guard does not break. Imperial records are fragmented. Regarding the final transmission from the 412th, some claim the Vox Ghosts recorded a final prayer to the God Emperor. Others, more grimly, suggest the only sound was the defiant crack of lasguns firing into the storm until the heat melted the barrels. There is a scholarly ambiguity here, a question of whether this was bravery or madness. But in the 41st millennium, the distinction is irrelevant. Evacuation. Creed's voice cuts through the roar of the apocalypse over the command channel. All units fall back to the landing fields. Get to the ships. Save what can be saved. It is a retreat, but it is a race against the planet itself. You scramble towards the extraction points. The air is becoming unbreathable, a toxic soup of ash and sulfur. The gravity is fluctuating as the mass of the planet shifts. You run past the ruins of the Kaiser. The great Gothic spires are toppling. The statues of the saints are weeping tears of dust as they crumble. You see a Valkyrie gunship try to take off, only to be swatted out of the air by a falling chunk of masonry. In the distance, you see the Phalanx in low orbit. The massive star fortress is firing its maneuvering thrusters, struggling to maintain a stable position as the gravity well of Cadia destabilizes. It is launching every transport, every shuttle, every Thunderhawk it has. The Golden Giant is trying to scoop up the survivors before the world comes apart completely. You reach the landing pads. It is a scene of controlled chaos. Tech priests are shoving data stacks onto Arvis lighters. Wounded guardsmen are being carried aboard by their comrades. There is no pushing, no shoving. Even at the end of the world, Cadian discipline holds. Room for 5 more. A loadmaster screams from the ramp of a bulk lander. You shove a wounded comms officer up the ramp. You turn to look back. Creed is not coming. The Lord Castellan is standing on the edge of the landing field. He is directing the evacuation, his coat flapping in the gale force winds of the firestorm. He is holding the line. He has one hand on his pistol, the other pointing towards the ships. Go. He shouts to you. Tell Terra. Tell them Cadia stands. The ground beneath the landing pad lurches. A fissure opens up, swallowing a Baneblade tank hole. The magma light illuminates Creed's face. He looks tired. He looks old. But he does not look defeated. The ramp closes. The engines of the lander scream as they fight the turbulence. You lift off. Through the viewport. You watch your home die. You see the continents drifting apart, floating on a sea of fire. You see the oceans boiling away into steam. You see the grid of the pylons, shattered and dark. And in the center of it all, the massive, jagged tombstone of the will of eternity is buried deep in the heart of the world it murdered. The planet is breaking up. Huge chunks of crust are drifting off into orbit, trailing magma. Cadia is no longer a sphere. It is an asteroid field in the making. But as you ascend through the burning atmosphere, looking down at the dying ember of the fortress world, you realize the truth of the phrase. The physical rock of Cadia surrendered. The geology failed. The physics gave out, but the regiments are still fighting. On the drifting continents, amidst the magma and the ash, you can see the tiny flashes of loose fire. The survivors who didn't make the ships are still shooting at the demons pouring from the cracks. They are fighting on a dead world. They are fighting on drifting rocks. The planet broke before the guard. The thought is a cold comfort as your ship breaks orbit, leaving the funeral pyre behind. You are alive, but you are an orphan of the stars. The gate is open. The lock is broken, and the galaxy is about to burn. We descend one final time to the surface of the dying world. The camera of history zooms in from the chaotic evacuation of the void to the singular, solitary figure standing against the end of time. The evacuation ships have launched. The Phalanx has burned its thrusters to escape the gravity well. Its hangars full of the weeping remnants of the Cadian regiments. But the Lord, Castellan, remains. You stand with Ursarkar Creed on the edge of the craft landing zone. The world is not just ending. It is dissolving. The ground beneath your feet is no longer solid rock. It is a raft of cracked ferrocrete floating on a sea of rising magma. The sky is a kaleidoscope of apocalyptic colors, the bruised purple of the warp, mixing with the angry orange of the planetary firestorm. The heat is so intense that the tears on Creed's cheeks evaporate instantly, leaving tracks of salt on his soot-stained skin. He is not alone. Beside him stands Color Sergeant Jaron Kell. Let us examine the bond between these two men. It is not merely the bond of commander and subordinate. It is the bond of the right hand and the left. Kell holds the regimental standard of the Cadian 8th, a banner of synthesis cloth that has flown over 100 battlefields. It is tattered, scorched, and riddled with bolter holes, but he holds it upright. His power fist crackles with dying energy, the generator stuttering in the harsh atmosphere. The last transport is away, Lord Castellan. Kell shouts over the roar of the tectonic collapse. We must move to the secondary extraction point. Creed shakes his head. He lights his final low stick, shielding the flame with his coat against a wind that carries the ash of 1 billion dead souls. There is no secondary point. Jaron, Creed replies, his voice strangely calm. The crust is fractured. The north is gone. The south is gone. We are all that is left. They are the rear guard of the apocalypse. From the smoke, the enemy comes. They are not the disciplined legions of the Despoiler. Abaddon has long since departed. These are the dregs. The world eaters who were too lost to the nails to retreat. The possessed cultists who have been abandoned by their gods. They are driven by a suicidal madness. They see the two figures standing on the burning precipice, and they see one last offering to the blood god before the fire takes them all. A chaotic horde of Khorne berserkers charges across the melting runway. They are screaming, their chain axes revving. For Cadia. Kell roars. He steps in front of Creed. He plants the banner in the cracking earth. You witness the final act of defiance. Kell fires his storm bolter, the explosive shells tearing through the lead berserkers. He swings his power fist, crushing the helmet of a traitor who gets too close. He is a whirlwind of violence, a mortal man fighting transhuman monsters, but there are too many of them. And the ground is treacherous. A berserker, missing an arm, tackles Kell. Another drives a chain blade into his side. Kell falls to one knee. He does not drop the flag. Go, Creed! Kell gasps, blood bubbling past his lips. Live, the Imperium needs. The Castellan. Creed draws his twin Helpestalls. He fires until the power cells whine empty. He kills the monsters tearing at his friend, but it is too late. Cawl looks up at him, his eyes glazing over as the life leaves him. The banner remains standing, held in the death grip of the sergeant's power fist. Creed is alone. He looks at the body of his friend. He looks at the advancing horde. He looks at the planet crumbling around him. He feels the weight of failure. He was given one job: hold the gate, and the gate is broken. He drops the empty pistols. He reaches into his coat. He does not pull out a weapon. He pulls out a rosarius, the badge of office given to him by the ecclesiarchy. He clutches it in his fist. The world eaters are closing in. They are 10 meters away. 5. They are going to tear him apart. But fate, or something older than fate, intervenes. The time stream stutters. It is a sensation of extreme vertigo, as if the universe has skipped a beat. The roaring of the firestorm stops. The screaming of the berserkers is silenced. The magma waves freeze in midair, suspended as statues of liquid fire. Creed looks around. The world has turned to grayscale. The ash motes hang motionless in the air like dust in a tomb. A figure steps out of the frozen chaos. He moves with the fluid, clicking grace of living metal. He wears a cloak of dimensional scales and carries a staff that glows with an emerald. Light. Trazy in the infinite. The Necron overlord walks across the frozen magma as if it were a polished floor. He approaches Creed. He looks at the Lord Castellan with the appreciation of a connoisseur examining a rare vintage. A pity, Trazen says, his voice echoing in the stillness. To let such a tactical mind be wasted on a pyre of rocks. Creed tries to move, but his limbs are heavy. The stasis field is gripping him. You, the Xenos from the ridge. I am the curator, Trazen corrects. And you, Ursarkar Creed, are the final exhibit of the fall of Cadia. Trazen raises his lantern. The green light intensifies. It is not a weapon. It is a preservation tool. The Imperium will mourn you as a martyr, Trazen whispers. Statues will be built. Hymns will be sung. But history is fragile, Castellan. It requires safekeeping. You watch as the light engulfs Creed. He does not scream. He does not struggle. His expression is one of defiant acceptance. He is frozen in that moment, the coat billowing, the cigar clamped in his teeth, the look of absolute, unyielding stubbornness etched onto his face forever. The light fades. Creed is gone. Where he stood, there is nothing. Just the empty runway and the frozen body of Jaren Cawl holding the flag. Trazen turns and vanishes into a dimensional oubliette, taking his prize back to the galleries of Solemnis. He leaves the rest to burn. The stasis field collapses. Time resumes with a violent crash. The world eaters charge the empty space. They howl in confusion. Their prey has vanished. They turn on each other in their frustration, hacking at their own brothers as the ground finally gives way. The runway collapses. The section of the continent slides into the mantle. The landing zone, the body of Jaren Cawl, the Cadian standard, it is all consumed by the fire. Imperial records are fragmented here. And there is a profound scholarly ambiguity regarding the fate of Ursarkar Creed. The official administratum report lists him as arch-martyr of the 13th Black Crusade, presumed killed in action during the final planetary collapse. There is no body, but on a planet that was vaporized, bodies are rarely found. However, there are whispers in the dark corners of the Inquisition. Reports of a strange, hooded figure, seen in the background of hololiths from other war zones. Rumors of a tactical genius advising Xenos forces in exchange for relics. But these are dismissed as the ravings of grief-stricken survivors. To the Imperium, Creed is dead. He died with his world. He died standing. You pull back now. The view from the surface is no longer possible. The atmosphere is opaque with soot. The planet is convulsing in its death throes. The continents are grinding together, dissolving into a sphere of molten slag. The story of Cadia is over. The fortress world has fallen. The physical barrier that held back the dark for 10 millennia is gone. But as the planet dies, something far worse is being born. You turn your gaze from the fire below to the darkness above. The Eye of Terror is no longer an eye. It is a tear. A rip in the fabric of creation that is spreading like a crack in a windshield. It is racing across the galaxy, faster than light, fueled by the death scream of 1 billion souls. The Despoiler's plan was not just to destroy a planet. It was to murder the sky. The war for Cadia is over, but the war for reality has just begun. You are no longer standing on the surface of a dying world. You are pulled back, your perspective expanding until you are looking down at the galaxy itself. A swirling spiral of billions of stars, suspended in the velvet dark. You witness the death of the Cadian Gate. It does not happen silently. In the Empyrean, the destruction of the pylons resonates like the snapping of a cosmic spine. The cage is gone. The pressure that has been building up behind the Cadian sector for 10,000 years, the rage of the chaos gods, the screams of the damned, the raw, unadulterated energy of the warp is released in a single, catastrophic instant. The Eye of Terror blinks wide open, but it does not stop there. The tear begins to run. Imagine a piece of silk pulled tight until it rips. The fabric of real space tears along its weakest seam. You watch as a jagged line of purple fire races across the galactic plane. It moves faster than light, defying the laws of physics, consuming star systems in the blink of an eye. It connects the Eye of Terror in the west to the Haddock's anomaly in the east, bridging the gaps between existing warp storms, stitching them together into a single, horrific wound. This is the birth of the Cicatrix Maledictum, the Great Rift. Let us examine the cartography of this disaster. The rift is not merely a spatial anomaly. It is a dimensional barrier. It is a wall of psychic storms, tens of thousands of light years long. Inside the rift, the laws of physics are suspended. Time flows backwards, or loops, or stops entirely. Demons walk on the hulls of starships without needing atmosphere. Planets trapped inside are bathed in the raw stuff of chaos, their populations instantly driven mad or mutated into monstrosities. But the horror is not confined to the rift itself. It is the shadow it casts. You shift your gaze to Holy Terra, the throne world, Segmentum Solar. You are standing in the Hollow Mountain, the headquarters of the Astra Telepathica. You are surrounded by the choir of 10,000 astropaths, the blind psychers who sing the Emperor's will into the void. They stop singing at the exact moment the rift opens. A psychic backlash hits Terra. It is a tsunami of agony. You watch as thousands of astropaths arch their backs and scream. Their eyes already sewn shut or empty sockets weep black blood. Their heads explode. The force of the scream shatters the stained glass of the sanctorum. The choir dies, and with them, the light goes out. The Astronomicon, the psychic beacon that guides all navigation in the Imperium, flickers and dies. This is the Noctis Aeterna. The days of blinding. For the first time since the Great Crusade, the Imperium is blind. Millions of ships, currently in transit through the warp, are suddenly plunged into darkness. Navigators who rely on the golden light to steer through the tides of the immaterium look out into the deep and see only monsters. Ships run aground on reefs of reality. They are swallowed by warp whales. They are boarded by Neverborn. Entire battle fleets are lost in an instant, stranded in the hellscape of the warp with no lighthouse to guide them home. You are on one of these ships, a merchant hauler drifting in the currents. The Geller field generator is whining, struggling to hold back the pressure. Outside the viewports, you do not see stars. You see faces. You hear scratching on the hull. The panic among the crew is absolute. They are praying to the Emperor, but the Emperor feels very far away. The galaxy has been bisected to the south of the rift. On the side of Terra, there is the Sanctus. Here, the light of the Astronomicon will eventually return, though it will be dimmed, struggling to pierce the interference of the storm. Here, there is a chance for survival. To the north, cut off from the light, lies the Imperium Nihilus. The dark Imperium. Here, there is no light. There is no communication. There is no travel. Every world is an island, alone in the dark, besieged by wolves. The governors of these worlds look up at the sky and see a bruise that stretches from horizon to horizon. They call for aid, but their messages are eaten by the static. They are trapped in a room with the lights off, and they can hear the heavy breathing of the things that live in the dark. Imperial records are fragmented regarding the duration of the Noctis Aeterna. On some worlds, the darkness lasted a day. On others, it lasted a century. Time has become subjective. The standardized imperial dating system of M41 collapses. Are we in M42? Is it the end times? The chronostrife begins as the Ordo Chronos fights a civil war over what year it actually is. Back on Terra, the situation is critical. The shockwave of the rift's opening was so violent that it momentarily destabilized the Golden Throne. The machinery of life support faltered. For a terrifying second, the Emperor died. And in that second, the wards around the Imperial Palace failed. You witnessed the impossible. You are standing at the Lion's Gate, the entrance to the inner sanctum. The air shimmers. The blood rain falls. And from the pavement, corn demons erupt. It is the second battle of Terra. Bloodthirsters, massive winged avatars of rage, fly beneath the banners of the Custodes. The 10,000, the Emperor's Golden Guardians, are forced to fight on the very steps of the Eternity Gate. It is a desperate, bloody melee. Trajan Valores, the Captain General, wields his Watcher's axe, carving through hordes of bloodletters. They hold the line, but the cost is spiritual terror. The enemy is not at the gates. The enemy is here. The sanctity of Terra has been violated. If the throne world is not safe, nowhere is safe. You drift back out to the galactic view. The rift has settled into a permanent scar. It glows with a malevolent, sick light purples, pinks, and bruising blues. It acts as a curtain, hiding half the galaxy from view. The Imperium of Man, the million-world empire that has stood for 10,000 years, has been murdered. It has been cut in half. The unification that the Emperor fought for is undone. You feel the weight of this new reality. It is a crushing, suffocating dread. The stalemate of the long war is broken. Chaos has won a strategic victory of unprecedented scale. They have divided the herd. Yet, in the darkness, there are still sparks. On the planet of Baal, the Blood Angels fight a desperate last stand against the Tyranids, cut off from all aid. In the Ultramar system, the realm of Guilliman prepares for a siege. On 1,000 nameless worlds, planetary defense forces load their lasguns, look up at the burning sky, and decide to sell their lives dearly. The physics of the galaxy have changed. The warp is now a neighbor, not a distant threat. Madness is the new baseline. You watch as the energies of the rift swirl and boil. It is a stormy sea that separates the survivors from the lost. The silence of the Astronomicon is the loudest sound you have ever heard. It is the silence of a god holding his breath. The Cadian Gate is gone. The dam has burst. The flood is here. And as the galaxy turns, bleeding and broken, you realize that the age of the Imperium is over. The age of the rift has begun. You are now a citizen of the Dark Imperium. The line has been drawn. The galaxy has been carved like a carcass, bisected by the jagged bleeding wound of the Cicatrix Maledictum. You stand on the north side of the divide, in the region known as the Imperium, Nihilus. To look towards Terra is to look into a wall of purple fire that spans the entire horizon. The light of the Astronomicon is gone. The golden throne is hidden behind a veil of warp storms so thick that not even the strongest navigator can see the beacon. You are alone in the dark. Let us examine the reality of life in the Nihilus. Without the Astronomicon, long-range warp travel is suicide. A jump that would have taken weeks now takes centuries, or results in the ship emerging inside a sun, or fused with a space hulk, or simply never emerging at all. The interstellar trade routes that fed the hive worlds have collapsed. The fleets that protected the agri-worlds are stranded. You stand in the spaceport of a planet that is slowly starving. The grain barges from the agricultural sector haven't arrived in 6 months. The rationing is absolute. Corpse starch is a luxury. The local governor has declared martial law, but his enforcers are just as hungry as the rioters they beat down. The silence is the worst part. You walk past the astropathic spire. It is silent. The psychers inside are either dead, burned out by the screaming of the rift, or catatonic. There are no orders from Terra, no tithe fleets, no comforting propaganda from the administratum. There's a scholarly ambiguity here. A terrified question whispered in the back rooms of the planetary governor's palaces. Does the Imperium Sanctus, the side with Terra, even exist anymore? Has the throne fallen? Are we the only ones left? Or are we the dead ones, trapped in a purgatory cut off from the light of God? You look up at the night sky. The stars are different here. They are dimmer, obscured by the tendrils of warp mist that drift through the void. The Geller field of reality itself is thin. You see things in the shadows. On the outskirts of the system, you watch a lone Imperial frigate drift into orbit. It is running on emergency power. Its hull is pitted and scarred. It has made a series of desperate, blinded micro-jumps to get here. You stand on the docking claw as the airlock opens. The crew that stumbles out are not men. They are husks. They have stared into the unfiltered warp. They have seen the predators that swim in the Great Rift. They do not speak of victory. They speak of Vigilus, the sentinel world at the mouth of the only stable passage through the rift. They speak of the Red Angel, Angron, returning to slaughter whole sectors. They speak of the tyrannid fleets of Hive Fleet Leviathan, approaching from below the galactic plane, feasting on worlds that can no longer call for help. This is the long night. The Pax Imperialis, the peace of the Empire, is a memory. The centralized authority is gone. Every system is a feudal kingdom now, fighting its own private war for survival. The Space Marine chapters stranded on this side, the Blood Angels. The Space Wolves, the Dark Angels, have become wandering knights, racing from fire to fire, trying to hold back the tide with bolters and chains. Words. You see a poster peeling on a hab block wall. It shows a stylized image of a Cadian shock trooper, standing defiant against a red sky. The caption reads, "Cadia stands." You look at it, and you feel a strange mix of bitterness and pride. Cadia is dust. The planet is an asteroid field. But the phrase has mutated. It no longer refers to a place. It refers to a state of mind. To be in the Imperium Nihilus is to be Cadian. You are the front line. There is no rear guard. There is no retreat. The enemy is everywhere, in the sky, in the dark, in your own mind. You walk through the empty market square. The statues of the Emperor are draped in black cloth. The Ursarkar priests preach sermons of apocalypse, telling the masses that this darkness is a test, a punishment for their lack of faith. They claim that if you pray hard enough, the beacon will return, but you know the truth. You are a student of the archives. You know that the pylons are broken. You know that the physics of the galaxy have been fundamentally altered. The rift is not a weather pattern that will blow over. It is a permanent scar. Technology begins to regress. Without the ability to ship replacement parts from the Forge worlds, machines fail. Lasguns are patched with tape and prayer. Cogitators are replaced by abacuses. The Dark Age is returning, not just as a metaphor, but as a technical reality. Yet, you endure. You watch a young child playing in the gutter with a toy bolter carved from wood. He points it at the bruised sky and makes shooting sounds. He does not know what a sunny day looks like. He has only ever known the gloom of the rift. This is his normal dot, and because he endures. You endure. You realize that the Imperium was never really the High Lords, or the Golden Palace, or the tax collectors. The Imperium is the stubborn, irrational refusal of humanity to go gently into that good night. It is the guardsman holding a trench on a world he can't name. It is the mother rationing water for her children. It is the void man keeping the engines running on a ship that has no destination. The galaxy has been transformed. It is a darker, colder, more hostile place. The dream of unity is dead. The dream of progress is dead. But the dream of survival remains. You stand on the rampart of your isolated world, looking out at the cicatrix maledictum. It pulses with the heartbeat of dark gods. It whispers promises of power and release. You cycle the action of your autogun. You check the seal on your rebrother. You tighten the strap of your helmet. You are a citizen of the Imperium Nihilus. You are an orphan of Terra, but you are still standing. The Cadian Gate has fallen. The eye is open. The night has come. But dawn is a promise you keep in your heart, even if you never see it again. The Emperor protects, not because he is a god who grants wishes, but because he is the symbol of the defiance that burns in your blood. The long story of the fall of Cadia ends here. Not with a victory parade, but with a silent vigil. The galaxy has broken, but the Guard did not, and neither will you. The data spools are winding down now. The hum of the noosphere fades into a gentle static. You have walked the iron dust of Mars. You have stood beneath the shadow of the warlord Titan. You have witnessed the tragedy of the servitor and the cold fury of the skittery. You have seen the lengths to which humanity will go to survive the dying of the light, but that is all behind you now. The war is distant. The forges are far away. Here, in the archive, there's only silence. Imagine yourself drifting in the deep void, far beyond the reach of the Astronomicon. The stars here are not burning suns of war. They are distant, diamond points of light, steady and calm. There is no scrapgood here. There is no radiation. There is only the infinite velvet peace of the dark. Let the tension drain from your limbs. Let the weight of the armor fall away. You are no longer a soldier. You are no longer a servant. You are a soul, floating in the quiet embrace of the Emperor's peace. He watches over you. Even in the silence of the Pariah Nexus, even in the darkness of the halo stars, his light is there. It is a beacon that does not burn. It warms. It tells you that your duty is done for the day. It tells you that you have earned your rest. The machine spirit of your mind needs to cycle down. The thoughts that race like data streams must be paused. Let the blackness of sleep wash over you, cleansing the horrors of the 41st millennium. The archive will remain. The lore will wait. The guardians of the Watch Fortress, the silent tech priests, the angels of death, they are all standing guard so that you may close your eyes. Sleep now, loyal citizen. The galaxy turns. The machine hums.